It's soccer season here on the SFBN, and that means it's time for In the Goal. We've got a great episode for you here tonight. Stay tuned. Welcome to In the Goal. I'm your host, Stephen Schreiber. We have a great episode for you tonight covering soccer all around the state of Pennsylvania. Joining me tonight is my co-host, Kapp, regular correspondent, been here all 4 weeks, or five episodes?
Fifth episode.
This is our fifth episode together. Ryan couldn't make it tonight, so we have an excellent fill-in for him. Joe Fite, correspondent for the Bucks Courier Timer and the Intelligencer. How are you doing tonight?
Great. Glad to be here.
Looking forward to a nice episode of soccer.
So am I. And we're going to start close to home. We're going to start with the PCL boys. And we're just going to start with their standings. A team that's really, just been great so far is LaSalle. They're 8-0 in their conference. Archbishop Wood, 7-1. Roman, 7-1. Followed by Archbishop Ryan, 5-2-1. And Father Judge, 4-3. Those are the teams really in contention. In this past week, what have we seen from those teams, Jack?
Well, starting with LaSalle. So LaSalle's undefeated. They're up on top.
Right.
Very, very powerful team, as we've talked about. A giant goalie, and not too many goals have been scored against them. They crushed their opponent, McDevitt, 7-0. I mean, it was kind of expected in that case. It wasn't like a really evenly matched game. So LaSalle stays undefeated. Wood goes to 7-1. Roman 7-1, as you mentioned. And then right in the thick of it is our friend Ryan Haney's team.
Right.
Archbishop Ryan. And they are at 5-2-1. So we get to the point in the season where we start assigning power points.
Right.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, but it's 3 points for a victory.
Correct.
1 point for a tie,
Yep.
and 0 points for
A loss.
So if you multiply it out, you do the simple math, and LaSalle gets 24 points. Wood has 21. Roman has 21. Ryan at 16.
Mm-hmm.
And then they start falling off after that pretty quickly.
Right. Judge is with 13, Prep at 12, and then
Correct.
Cardinal O'Hara at 8, and then you're getting back towards the bottom of the standings.
That's right.
Just recapping some recent games, other than the LaSalle McDevitt game. Ryan beat Judge 2-0, a big game.
That's a big victory.
Yeah, it
for our
is.
friend.
It
Yes,
is.
is.
The two teams were neck and neck, both 4-2
Yes.
and 1 before that,
Mm-hmm.
and Ryan was able to put some space between them and Judge. Roman beat Archbishop Carroll 4-1, and Archbishop Wood beat Bonner Prendy 2-0. So for mostly the top teams won games they were expected to win, and then there was a solid matchup between Ryan and Judge.
Right. Everybody
Yep.
who was expected to win won their game, and then Ryan and Judge is a game that could have gone either way, and Ryan was able to pull that out. I wasn't able to get to the game. I was trying to put some time away, but was not able to get there.
So what games, either later this week or coming up next week, are you looking forward to in the PCL?
So we have the next games are tomorrow,
Yes.
as a matter of fact, for the boys. So the two big games that stick out. Once again, Archbishop Ryan versus Roman at Roman. Very important game. Roman stands at 7-1. Ryan right up their tail at 5-2-1.
Right.
That one tie was against St. Joe Prep for Archbishop Ryan, and Prep plays at Wood. Also an opportunity for Prep, which was kind of a preseason favorite at 3-2-3, only 12 points in the power rankings. An opportunity for them to take on Wood at 7-1 and
Yeah. I
possibly
mean,
pull an
if
upset.
Prep could get that win, it would really help them.
Yep.
Gain some ground, get some momentum moving in. I mean, that's a big win. Wood's only lost one game in the conference. Being able to beat them. I mean, even coming away with a tie might help change Prep's season.
It might get them into a possible better playoff position or playoff position at all there. And then
They're only 1 point behind Judge right now.
That's
So
right. Yeah.
I mean, 1 point or 3
Those three
points.
ties are
Yeah,
tough.
yeah.
It's you only get 1 point for that as opposed to 3 for a victory. And then we have the week after that. There's just 1 week left.
Yeah, it's
Remember
amazing.
early?
This season has flown by. Flown by. We've had
Joe, early in the season, we had Coach Ryan standing here, and I said to him, "It goes by so quickly." I mean, it's over.
It's hard to believe.
It is. Really
I was looking at the Suburban
Yeah.
One girls the other night, and
Yeah.
there's basically 2 weeks left until the district tournament.
It's crazy. I mean, it's just over in a blink of an eye. It's a whole season. They work so hard to, get the kids ready, and then, you have 2 or 3 games a week, and then bang, it's over, and you're into the district playoffs.
Right, they start the middle of August,
Yeah.
and start with games the first week in September, and bang, it's gone.
That's right. Well, there's, again, just basically 1 week left for the boys, the Catholic PCL boys, and we're looking at next week's games. So we have LaSalle versus Judge. That's a biggie.
Always a good one.
Always a good one. It's at Judge. And Roman at Archbishop Wood.
Yeah.
So
Big.
those are the 2 big games that are coming up Tuesday.
Yeah, big. I mean, that's the 10th. And we're gonna transition, stay in the PCL, but we're gonna look at the girls' side. And there is a lot of contention at the top right there. Archbishop Ryan 7-0-1, Lansdale Catholic 7-0-1, St. Hubert's 6-1-1, and then there's a little bit of separation between the top 3 teams. Cardinal O'Hara 4-1-3, Archbishop Wood 5-3. All strong teams right now, but the top is starting to solidify itself right now.
And some of the teams that were expected to be there, you're probably familiar with some of these teams also.
Yeah, the cream has risen to the top at this point. But the thing is, Little Flowers at 4-4, Hallahan's 3-4-1, Conwell Egan 2-4-2. All those teams are capable of knocking off any of those top teams.
So
Really?
it's like an any given Sunday type of situation.
Right. One problem, Conwell Egan, their schedule is front-loaded. They have all the tough teams at the beginning of the season. Last year, the same thing happened. They lost their first 8 games,
Really?
and then they won 10 in a row. So they, are probably looking for the same kind of bump this year.
Interesting scenario.
Archbishop Wood, a very good team, but they lost their best player to an injury. Lauren Ruth had a compartment syndrome injury to her leg, and had
She's done for the season.
she's done for the season, and that could severely affect their run in the playoffs.
She a senior, Joe?
She's a senior.
So she's
yeah,
done.
yeah.
That's a shame. Because she was a very good player. She was one of the top
Excellent player.
players coming
She
into the
was
season.
their main goal scorer, and Wood's a fairly young team, and they're really going to miss that senior leadership.
Yeah, I mean, they're
Oh,
right.
I feel bad for her.
They're right in the thick of it, and losing your best player at a time like this can really hurt. And I mean, we hope the best for her coming back from what was described to me as a very serious injury.
Very serious.
I'm sure she's not a happy kid right now.
I'm sure she's not. But what are some upcoming games that you're looking forward to? I mean, I know there's one being played as we speak.
Even as we speak, or probably over at this point, was Lansdale Catholic 7-0-1, as we mentioned, at O'Hara. So O'Hara 4-1-3 with 15 points in the power points. That is the best game today,
Right.
and we don't know the results yet.
No,
But it's coming in on the ticker tape.
I was
at any
looking
moment.
for an email and haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, well, maybe if we get it before the show's over, we'll mention the victor in that.
Right.
But that's the big game today, this afternoon, that was just played. And then next week, on Monday, there's 3 big games. So we have St. Hubert's, the Bambies, versus Lansdale Catholic, at Lansdale Catholic. You have Hallahan at Wood, and Ryan at Little Flower.
Right. So I mean,
Probably the biggest game of that group is Hubert's at Lansdale Catholic. I saw St. Hubert's against Conwell Egan, and they're a very, very talented team. Offensive minded, they play up a lot, and they could give LC some trouble.
I wouldn't be
I mean,
surprised
they're
if they pulled off a victory.
they're neck and neck. I mean, if Hubert's beat Catholic or Lansdale Catholic, they would tie him in the standings, pull into a tie for second. So I mean, you can't ask for a much bigger contest unless it's the 1 and 2 teams going at each other. What about on next Thursday.
So the very last day of the season for PCL girls is 10-12. That would be next Thursday. We'll be on the air, so we might have the results, we might not. But Wood plays at Little Flower, Ryan plays at O'Hara, and Hallahan plays at Lansdale Catholic.
Right.
Again, 3 big games towards the end there that will shuffle the standings possibly.
Now, one positive thing is there that almost every team in the league makes the playoffs.
Yeah.
And depending on how high you finish, depends on who you're going to end up playing. Goooaaalll has slipped in there the last couple of years as like a wild card team, and made it to the quarterfinals. But almost every team makes it, and anybody can knock anybody off.
Is there a bye? Do they get byes?
I'm not sure if the first couple of teams do get a bye, but Wood and Lansdale Catholic played for the Catholic League Championship last year, and everybody was expecting Lansdale Catholic to win that game, and Wood shocked them.
Wood came, and that was one of the last games for the old coach too, Bill Cappo.
That's correct.
That's right, yeah.
We're going to stick with Lansdale Catholic, but we're going to focus on one of their players, Kate Hennessy. She scored her 100th goal of the season.
Right.
From what you both were telling me before, she's had an absolutely fantastic year so far.
Yeah, she scored 100 goals in her career, which is stupendous, amazing, and 31 goals this season, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, she's a very talented player. She's very skilled, plays club soccer, and she's probably going to do well at the next level.
Has she gotten any interest? Do you know of anything?
I haven't heard where she might be going yet.
I'm sure she's a good student also, so she's probably...
She's getting some interest from schools, but she hasn't settled on anything yet.
Well, she had 2 goals in their most recent win. Lansdale Catholic, again, undefeated, and her goal scoring is phenomenal. It's off the charts. 31 goals in a season for a high school kid, for anybody, for any college, any pro team. It's really incredible.
In my time covering Lower Bucks County, I've only seen 2 kids score 100 career goals. Megan Schaefer's being one, who's now playing at Penn State.
I remember her.
And she, is an All-American caliber player.
Yep.
And her teammate Gabby Farrell came up behind her, and she scored over 100 goals, and she's playing for Liberty University now. So Kate Hennessy's in some very rare company.
Yeah. It is rare. Is she a big girl? Do you have
she's not particularly big. I believe she's like 5'7".
Well, okay, that's a decent size.
Yeah.
And she has speed?
She's very fast, yep.
And obviously good ball
skill
skills.
With the ball.
Good ball skills,
Yeah. Scoring 100 goals, in high school, the high school I went to, there was a guy that scored 100 goals, and the whole school was going nuts because, just a tremendous achievement. But we're gonna move on. We're gonna look at the Pennsbury versus Abington game, a 3-1 victory for Pennsbury, I believe. Kapp, what about that game really stood out?
So we're talking girls now. We're sticking with the girls. That's Joe's area of expertise. And Joe, you were at that game.
I did cover that game yesterday.
Pennsbury at 11-1-1, or I guess that's their record after the game.
That's the record after the game.
And Abington
5-8
after the game. 3-1 victory.
3-1 victory, and we've mentioned that the district playoffs are starting in a couple of weeks, and Pennsbury came in there as in a playoff frame of mind. Abington, their coach mentioned to me before the game, he said, I think we have a chance to beat them because they only lost to them 2-1 last time they met. So Pennsbury got a goal off of a free kick from Jenna Peters. Jenna Peters, a very talented kid.
That was early on, right?
That was in the 10th minute.
10th minute, okay.
And
I did follow your tweets.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
I'm one of your followers.
I'm not a quick tweeter, but
I'm one of your followers, and I saw that. Jenna Peters opened the scoring, actually, it was an open net goal in the 10th minute.
Yeah. Abington has a young goalie, and she made a mistake and came out for the ball, and they got around her, and it was just basically an open net goal.
Right. As young goalies will do.
Yep. And Evie Cassia scored the second one. She finished off a free kick. I think that was in the 24th minute.
24th minute.
Yeah.
I was down here. Yeah.
Mine like a trap.
Yeah, that's right.
But so it was 2-0 going into halftime.
Yeah.
Or no, I'm sorry. Abington did get a goal before halftime.
In the 35th minute.
Right. And that was also off a free kick.
That's right.
And so it was 2-1. Abington came out as a more confident team in the second half, and I thought, Yeah, maybe. Let's a weird goal goes in or something happens and the momentum in soccer changes, and the other team can capitalize on that.
Very quickly. Yeah.
Didn't quite happen here though. 61st minute, I believe it was. Christine Cataldo-Smith scored for Pensbury, and that kind of put it out of reach.
That was the final.
So
it was a free kick, was it, or?
It was a free kick.
She took Hope Dewis. How do you say
that? Hope Drews.
Drews. Okay,
Yeah.
she got the free kick and she put it to Christina Cataldo-Smith.
Correct.
I got that one right, Joe?
Yeah.
Okay, and she put it in from the
She
free
put
kick.
it in,
Yeah.
and
was it direct or indirect? Do you happen to know?
it was a direct kick.
It was a direct. Okay.
And Abington, they have a very, very nice player in Cameron Lexow, and they had her bottled up. Pensbury's defense, that was Drews. It was, well, I can't think of their names off the top of my head, but Hope Drews was okay on that defense. They didn't really let Abington get too much going on there, and they held on for the win.
Yeah, sounds like
It's good that you were able to cover that live. That's good. Yep. And Lansdale Catholic has beaten Cardinal O'Hara 5-1.
Yeah.
And that's the game we talked about earlier. That's coming in from the ticker.
Mm-hmm.
We have a little machine, and it gives us all the score. No, I'm kidding. We do have a director that was able to pick that up.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Director. And that covers that aspect of what we were talking about earlier.
Yes.
So the odd thing about that matchup is Abington, if they win out, which they have some tough games coming up in Council Rock South and Neshaminy, but if they can happen to get by them, they could possibly sneak into the district playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to stick in the suburban one, and we're going to look at the girls' standings. Look at how just look at it as a whole.
Oh yeah. Let's take a look at it.
So leading the national conference or division.
National division.
Yep. You got Council Rock South. They're 9-0, followed by Pensbury, as we just mentioned, 7-1. Really, the only competition there for CR South. Council Rock North is a little bit behind. They're 4-4, but Pensbury and CR South have really separated themselves from the rest of the division. Moving on to the Continental, Souderton 5-3, and then there's a whole mess of teams right behind them. Central Bucks East, Central Bucks South, and Penridge are separated by 1 point, and William Tennant is 1 point behind Penridge, and then there's a gap towards the end of the division. The American, Upper Dublin has separated themselves. They are 9-0. Quakertown's behind them, 7-2. Hatboro, Horsham, 6-3. Plymouth White Marsh, also 6-3. And those are really the contenders within that division. What team, CR South has steadily moved up the state rankings. What team has surprised you, or has there been any surprises from the Suburban 1 standings?
Well, I mentioned before we went on that the biggest surprise for me has been William Tennant.
Right.
William Tennant moved into the Continental Conference last year, and I think they were 2-9. So this year they've turned it around. They've been beating some very quality teams. They knocked off Strathaven in a non-league game. They also beat Penridge last week. Penridge at the time had not been behind in any game this year. And so they had to play from behind the first time all
Must
year.
have been a weird feeling for them.
Yeah, and the coach took it very well, but she was probably a little stunned that William Tennant took it to him like that. Tennant's got a very.
Are they a young team?
They're young. They're fast.
So in the next couple of years, we'll really be looking for them in the Continental Division.
Yeah, I'd say they'll be a factor. And there's another girl who kicked a 42-yard free kick in that game that went into the upper left corner.
Wow.
And that was number 23. That was Brianna Brocardi.
Did she bend it?
It went straight in. It just went
She
right up for
fired
the
it.
left corner. She boomed it.
75 miles an hour.
42 yards.
That's incredible.
That is very impressive. When
Goalie
you
went up
see-
with her hands, it just went right over her fingertips and into the
When
goal.
you say a high school girl that can do something like that, that's
She
a powerful
kicked the
woman.
heck out of that ball.
Someday we're going to see a woman in the NFL. You think?
Yes.
A soccer girl who grows up, becomes a woman, and
I don't see
kicks
why.
field
I don't
goals.
see why not.
It's a
Yeah.
possibility because a
It's-
girl with a foot like that.
Quakertown's football team had a girl kicker last year.
We interviewed her.
Yeah.
We interviewed. There was two girl kickers last year, and we interviewed them on Varsity Voice, and boy, they were good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The one made a great tackle also in the game.
Council Rock South has
Yeah.
been a surprise too. Maybe not to the degree of William Tennant, but
Mm-hmm.
they have a brand new coach who happened to be an assistant coach for them for 8 years.
Right.
But so the girls know him, and they've done very well. They've knocked off Pennsbury. They've knocked off the Chamonix. The teams that traditionally been the strong teams, not only in the league but also in the district.
Yeah.
They pretty
Has
much
the-
knocked off everybody,
Has
Yeah.
considering that they haven't been beaten. So I mean, but they were considered a preseason favorite. Also, would you say Council Rock South?
My preseason favorite was Pennsbury,
Interesting.
and
Well, they're 7-1.
Pennsbury's up there.
Yeah.
But
Always good
I
soccer,
didn't expect
Pennsbury.
Council Rock South to be ahead of them.
The Falcons and the Golden Hawks, right?
That's correct.
Falcons of Pennsbury.
Has
yeah.
there been
Battle of
any
the Birds.
team that hasn't lived up to expectations this season?
I would say none that I can think of or would like to want
Yeah.
to mention, but
Right.
you look at the standings. Ben Salem's sitting there at 1-9,
Yeah.
brand new coach, and when I spoke with her before the season started, her goal was to make the playoffs, and they've given teams fits. They've lost 2-1, 1-0. Some real close games, and they're sitting at 1-9, but they're a very, very dangerous team.
I mean, losing those close games it can really just get great experience for players coming in next year and moving forward. They know how to play. So that's
I think she's building a program. She
yeah.
really is.
I mean,
and
we-
she took over it. Lou Malagian, who was the coach there, and he's now the boys' coach at Ben Salem. Built a nice program, and she is kind of taking over from there.
that's. I mean, let's hope they are able to improve in the coming weeks, get some more wins, get some momentum, and then move into next year. But Kapp, you were telling me the District 1 playoff format.
Yeah,
You wanted to talk about that.
Yeah, so for the boys, we have it's known as a playoff model
Yep.
currently. So they break it down by classification. So 4A, 3A, 2A, 1A, and then if you start in the 4A in District 1, there are 24 District 1 qualifiers, which means that 24 teams will play in the district playoffs. 5 go to the state playoffs. So right now, if you look at the big schools, that's the 4A schools for soccer, Conestoga, which we've mentioned a bunch of times on
Yep.
this show, are right up at the top, and their main competition in that league, Lower Merion.
Yeah.
By the way, that game's coming up in about 10 days, I think. The Conestoga Lower Merion game, that should be a doozy. And they are right up at the top there. North Penn follows them, Unionville, Hatboro, Horsham, Central Bucks West, Westchester, Henderson, and it goes down from there. There's down at the 25th position is Strathaven. So 24 teams make it. The 25th team does not make it, and of course there's a bunch of teams that don't even come close. Then when
Right.
you get into the 3A, Holy Ghost Prep
Yeah.
on top in the 3A, as they should be.
They're a perennial tough team.
Yes, and I saw them play actually against Archbishop Ryan, and they beat Ryan. It was a good game, but Prep won yesterday. They beat Lower Moreland, I believe. That's in the Bicentennial League, and excuse me. So anyway, Holy Ghost up at top, Bishop Shanahan, Harriton, Phoenixville, Radnor, and down at the bottom there is Pope John Paul II. 9 of those schools get to play in the district playoffs. 2 get to the state playoffs. Then if you go to the 2A, New Hope Soulbury is on top in the 2A. 2 district playoff teams and 2 PIAA qualifiers.
Yeah.
So as you see, as you start going down by classification, it becomes less and less. There's 1 PIAA qualifier in the single A for the boys. Right now, Doc Mennonite, which is way out there.
It's near Lansdale.
Lansdale. I was
Yep.
there not that long ago. And Doc Mennonite is on top.
Right.
Girard College is on the bottom of that. and there's 8 teams in between them. So that's where we stand with the playoff model for the boys in District 1.
Right, and we're going to stay within District 1. We're going to move on to Suburban 1, one of the conferences in there. And we're going to start with the National Division. Council Rock North, leading the way, has a pretty healthy margin over its competition. They're 7-0. Abington and Pennsbury, both 5-3, both have 15 points. Council Rock South, right after that, 4-3, 13 points. Ben Salem, 4-5, 12 points. Really, those are the. I mean, Council Rock North has separated themselves, but there's a lot that could happen in the middle of that division. Moving on to Continental, there's a fight in the Continental at the top. Central Bucks East and North Penn, 6-2. Central Bucks West, 5-3. William Tennant, 4-3. Those teams, I mean, moves could be made to move up in the division. And moving on to the final one, the American Division. Again, a lot of competition at the top. Upper Dublin, 8-1. Hepburn, Horsham, 7-2. Wissahickon, 7-2, and then Plymouth White Marsh, 6-3. Again, a lot could happen at the top of that division. Just some strong play across the board in the PC, or not the PCL, in Suburban 1.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be back, and we're going to cover the Philly Public League, and we're going to move into some other stuff. Stay tuned here on In the Goal.
Hi, I'm Tommy Green, former pitcher for the Philadelphia Phillies. When I was in high school, it was very important to me to show scouts what I could do. My friends at Payroll Service Solutions are huge supporters of high school sports and the Sports Fan Base Network. If you're a small to medium-sized business in need of a payroll company, contact Payroll Service Solutions. Not only will they take care of you, they will continue to support the community. For more information, contact Payroll Service Solutions at 215-624-0922 or 866-PAY-EASY.
Here on In the Goal for Jack Kapp. I'm joined here by Jack Kapp.
That's me.
And Joe Fite. I'm your host, Stephen Schreiber. We've had a good discussion so far. We're going to move on to the Philadelphia Public League. Just sticking on the boys' side, you know, there was a great contest at the top that we'll talk about between the two top teams, FTC and Northeast.
Right.
But Northeast sits atop the standings right now. FTC right behind them, followed by Masterman, Washington, Central, who's 3-0 somehow in at least 3-0-3. I mean, those 3 ties have hurt them. Right. Followed by Pax, Olney, and Bodine. Those are really the teams that we're talking about right now. But what can you tell me about this FTC match versus Northeast? A 3-0 win by Northeast, really a statement win.
Yes, it was, and we've talked about Northeast a couple of times on this show, and Northeast is powerful. I've seen them several times this season. It might be the best Northeast team I've ever seen.
Really?
And I played for Northeast a long time ago. But Northeast,
that's a compliment to the current team.
It's a great team. I mean, and they're missing several of their players to injury, one of whom may or may not come back. Amr Ibrahim, my buddy there, I spoke to him, I interviewed him last week. He might be out for a while, so we don't know. He has a head injury.
Oh, those are always tough.
It's a concussion, and he doesn't get the choice as to when he comes back. There's a protocol, and that's the way it works. So, Northeast beat FTC, which is Franklintown Charter. That's the Coyotes, 3-0. The goals were scored by Sadiki Fofana, Daner Cabrera, and Mohamed Kalafala. We talked last week about the multinational team that Northeast has right now. 10 languages are spoken on this team.
Wow.
We both worked at Northeast at one time.
That's correct.
And 10 languages on one team. And
that's unbelievable.
Feldman is the coach. You know, the guy who preceded you as the baseball coach. Sam Feldman and his son, Craig, is actually the head coach. Sam is the assistant coach in retirement. Anyway, they have a slew of great players. They're all fast, they're big, they're strong, they know soccer, they come from all these different countries. We talked about it last week, and they are the team to beat. They have 2 games left. Washington it's coming up pretty soon, who's right now in 4th place, and Central, which is in 5th place, hampered by the 3 ties, Central. Because you only get 1 point for ties, as we talked about with those other conferences. Central has 3 points there, and they have 9 points from the 3 victories. So, but Central is always a good program, and the Northeast Central game is the traditional rivalry that goes back well over 125 years. And that's the story on the Public League. It ends very quickly. It's over next week.
Yeah, I mean, this whole season has just been a blur sitting up here talking to you. So,
yeah,
but
well, it does go fast.
It does.
Like we talked about earlier. And
it is tremendous.
We'll be in the districts and the states before we know it.
And we're going to move on to the Fab 50 rankings and the PSCA rankings. It's been an interesting season so far. We had, for a very long time, for 3 or 4 weeks, we had both the boys and girls #1 team in the nation for the Fab 50 Top Drawer Soccer rankings. That was incredible. Really paced the show talking about these 2 dominant teams. But Norwin, the girls team that was #1 in the nation, had scored so many goals. They have fallen out of the top 50, which is just tremendous or surprising. But our boys team, Conestoga, still ranked #5 in the nation. What else in the top 50 have you seen?
There's some interesting things going on here in the Fab 50 poll. Conestoga has jumped up to #5. They were #1 for 2 weeks. They were undefeated. They lost to the Haverford School. An out-of-league game. It was an Interact game. I'm sorry, they didn't lose. They tied the Haverford School. It dropped them from #1 to #7. They now won 2 games, so they jumped back up to #5. And in the boys, we'll stay in the boys for a moment here, Parkland, which is in District 11, just above us here in the Allentown area.
Right above Allentown.
You know Parkland well, I'm sure. Parkland has jumped to #19. They were #27.
Yeah.
So Parkland, 11-1-0 for the season.
Got some strong teams.
Coming in at 19. And then, interestingly enough, if you move from Parkland boys, you can jump right into Parkland girls. Yeah. And now we're at #23 for the Parkland girls. So if you say who's the best program in Pennsylvania, maybe it's Parkland, because look at their boys and girls are in the top 50 in the nation. As is, by the way, Conestoga girls.
Yeah.
So you see that? Their Conestoga girls are 37th in the nation.
How many girls teams are currently ranked?
There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 from Pennsylvania.
That's tremendous right there.
You recognize some of these names, Joe, right?
Council Rock South.
Yeah.
Ranked #31 in the
Number
nation.
31. They're 13-0, and
They were not ranked in the week prior, so they jumped in at 31. Now Episcopal, which is an Interact school, we haven't really covered the Interact all that much, but it's Interact sports are highly competitive. So they're in at 35. They were not ranked either. And then we mentioned Conestoga girls.
Just starting, the state is just starting to get recognition.
Yeah, well, it really is. And most of these schools are from our area here: Parkland, Cumberland Valley, CRS, Council Rock South, Episcopal, Conestoga, and then Moon.
Moon area.
You know the Moon area, yeah. Right next to Mars, believe it or not.
They actually played Archbishop Wood, I believe, for the state championship a couple of years ago.
I think you're right. Yeah, that's right. I remember that. Yeah, Moon always traditionally good teams in every sport. They had really big time basketball program a number of years ago, and also football. They had a guy make the NFL. So they're 11-0 and 11-0-0. 38th in the country, Moon out of District 7.
Yeah. Well,
so that's where we stand with that.
We're going to move on to the PSCA rankings. It's the Coaches Association. And we're just focusing here on the large school. We're going to start with the boys. Conestoga still maintaining its top spot. Peters Township following it up. Erie Cathedral Prep, Episcopal, LaSalle, Parkland, Ephrata, Holy Ghost Prep, Lower Dauphin, Northwestern Lehigh. Now the top 8 are the same as they were last week, but Lower Dauphin, a team that was highly ranked going into the season, I believe they were in the top 10 in the nation in the Fab 50 poll, is now making its way back. They were not ranked before. They weren't even an honorable mention, and now they are number 9 in the state.
That's right.
And Northwestern Lehigh was an honorable mention last week, and they are in at number 10.
Now, these are the large schools.
These are the large
The
schools.
coaches poll separates them into large schools, small schools.
It's
Right.
Class 3A and 4A with
Right.
PIAA rankings.
Right.
That's right. And then the 2A.
Small
and
school
1A.
is 2A and 1A.
That makes sense, obviously. And so what we're looking at here is a lower Dolphin team that comes out of District 3 and was undefeated last year and state champions and really, really highly ranked at the early part of the season. Tied and then lost to Hershey and then lost to CD East, which is Central Dauphin East. They have now avenged those games.
Right.
Lower Dauphin has avenged those games, as we had a feeling that they might. We mentioned it last week, and they did. So they are back in a good position. In their league, they're in very good position.
Yes, and
So-
they're starting to move back up the state rankings. Not quite back in the Fab 50, Paul. It's very
Right.
tough to get into as we. I mean,
Especially if you have a couple losses.
yeah.
Because they look at that.
There's tough teams all around the country. And, but we're going to move on to the girls' large school rankings. Cumberland Valley leads the way. Moon follows them. Parkland, Conestoga Valley, Council Rock South, Springford, Manheim Township, Norwin, Conestoga, Peters Township. Now, while the boys' side was a model for stability with 8 of the same teams staying in their same place, the girls' side is completely different. Cumberland Valley was 4th last week. Moon was 6th. Parkland was 7th. Conestoga Valley was 8th. CR South was 10th. And so there's been a whole everyone shift up except for the top teams who really shifted down.
Yep.
Springford, who is number 2, is now number 6. Norwin, who was 1st, is now number 8th. Conestoga, which was number 3, is now 9th. So they really flipped the girls' rankings this week. Just a lot of movement.
It's surprising to see Council Rock South ranked above Conestoga.
Yeah.
Should be interesting.
Yeah.
Springford is, those District 1 teams that you see in those rankings are going to be heard from at the state tournament, I'm sure.
And Springford is a District 1 team.
Yeah, Springford's going to be right there at the end.
We're going to move on to District 3, look at the Mid-Penn Conference, and there are 2 teams here that are really worth talking about. First, you have East Pennsboro. They are undefeated. I mean, not only are they undefeated, they haven't allowed a goal all season. Shockingly, it's tremendous.
Yeah.
But in their conference, they're chasing Trinity, who is the 3-time defending state champion.
champions.
Which is, just incredible.
It is.
No one has done that outside of a basketball team.
Well, yeah,
Or no one has won 4 outside of a basketball team. I really wonder who is the star player on that basketball team. But
I used to know his name, and it's slipping away. But he was a great player. He was a big, strong guy.
yeah, we're gonna stick with
I think
soccer.
he was on the team, but there was another guy who was even better.
Oh, yeah.
Jeff Lebo, you're thinking of, but it was
Yeah.
a 6'8" guy, played in the NBA. But anyway, Trinity has won 3 consecutive state championships,
Right.
the girls. They were in the one prior to that, so they've been in 4 consecutive state final games. And if they were to do it again this year, they would be the second team that we know of that would have 4 consecutive state championships. Carlisle was the boys basketball team that we've been talking about. Right now, though, East Pennsboro is on top in the Mid-Penn Capital Division. Okay, so they're 9-0,
Yeah.
10-0 overall, unscored upon.
That's just incredible.
It's shocking. Yeah, it's
If
really-
they could finish the
What an
season the way,
accomplishment.
that would be quite accomplishment. But they're not the only team that's unscored upon
they're
this
not.
season. Pencrest, out in close to us here in District 1, they're also unscored upon.
It's
amazing.
Yeah, can you imagine going through a season without letting up a goal?
If 2 teams didn't, that would just be tremendous.
Have you ever heard of that, Joe?
No,
You've been around soccer a long time. I've been
Neshaminy
around a long
had
time.
a very good goalie the year they won the state championship, and even she let in a couple of goals.
I remember, yeah.
But the thing is, when you get into the district playoffs, state playoffs, teams don't, they're not going to, go, without letting a goal in.
Yeah.
Something's going to slip in.
Because the competition is just so high.
But think how dominating their defense has to be in front of that goalie.
That's right.
Yeah.
So,
it's a total team effort. The whole back line and even the midfielders probably all very good defensively.
I mean, I'm sure there's a big sweeper in front of that goalkeeper, and I mean, I saw the Conestoga boys, and they have this giant in front of a very large goalkeeper, and nothing's getting by them. I mean, they have shutout after shutout after shutout. So
Defense wins championships, right?
yeah, I mean, anyway, we'll follow up on that next week. We'll see if they stay spotless.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
Joe, one thing you wanted to talk about was the turnover we've seen at the head coaching here in Lower Bucks. I mean, it seemed like quite a few teams had started with new head coaches this season.
Yeah, there's in the 6 years that I've been covering Lower Bucks County, I've never seen that many coaches replaced. I mean, there's only 11 teams in Lower Bucks.
Right.
6 of them have brand new head coaches this year.
That's never happened before.
Not in my memory. Now, Dan Finello is new at Archbishop Wood. From the head coaching perspective, Dan has been an assistant coach for the last 18 years. He was there under Bill Capo, who won 311 games in 23 years.
Incredible.
In 7 Catholic League championships. So, unfortunately, Dan lost his best player, and that's going to hurt his initial season coaching. At Council Rock North, you've got Gavin Flanagan. He came in for Wendell Burris. Council Rock South, you have Nick Heim, who was the assistant under Kimmy Francis for the last 8 years. And so the girls know him, but he went from playing good cop to bad cop, so, with the head coaching switch. Bill Hans is new at William Tennant. He was also a long-time assistant there and has been doing well. He came in for James Barry. John Stevens came back at George School. He was the head coach for, I believe, 2 or 3 years. Left school, and for 2 years, he wasn't the head coach, and he came back as the head coach. And Lisa Baffardi at Ben Salem, has got a lot of great ideas, a lot of determination to get back to the playoffs.
Now, over at CR South, Nick Heim.
Heim.
Is he Bud Heim's son? Do you know Bud?
Yes.
I used to ref with him.
Okay.
I had a feeling there was his son.
Bud's his assistant coach.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So he gave up officiating, or is he
I don't know.
That's interesting. Yeah.
And
Bud and I worked together many games.
Before I forget, Kate Hennessy has a verbal commitment to Bucknell.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So they're going to get a high-scoring young lady.
Yep.
You should follow her career.
Other than Miss Hennessy, what are some other players that have stuck out to you in Lower Bucks?
There's been, that girl, Brianna Picardi from William Tennant, she's got one of the biggest feet, whatever that might be, for high school kids I've seen in a while.
Yeah.
Brooke Mullen,
Right? Neshaminy.
she's at Neshaminy. She's always in the right place at the right time. She goes after goals
Smart player.
or goes after balls in the box that other kids wouldn't go for, and she collects a lot of goals that way. She's got some great genes. Her uncle is Chris Mullen,
right.
the NBA
That's
Hall
right.
of Famer.
That's right. I remember you told me that.
Yeah.
Well, that's some good genes.
Carolyn Weir is a nice freshman at William Tennant. She's very fast.
High goal scorer.
She's not real high, but she can
freshman,
put it in the back of the net for a freshman. Mia Scalamandre.
I love that name.
At Council Rock North, committed to Columbia. She was injured in October of last season, came back for a playoff game against Boyertown. Got in there, it went to PKs. She kicked the winning penalty kick on her first game back from an injury.
Very exciting.
So, there's several.
She is a senior, and she is committed to Columbia.
Columbia.
Yep.
To Columbia.
Julie Rebb from Council Rock South, very good scorer, and she's a nice player.
Yeah. Sounds like there's talent all over the place. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be back in a couple seconds, give some final thoughts, and wrap up the show. Stay tuned on In the Goal.
Hi, I'm Marty Bystrom, former pitcher for the Philadelphia Phillies. In my experience in Major League Baseball, I know how important it is for high school athletes to gain exposure. My friends at Payroll Service Solutions are huge supporters of high school sports and the Sports Fan Base Network. If you are a small to medium-sized business in need of a payroll company, contact Payroll Service Solutions. Not only will they take care of you, they will continue to support the community. For more information, contact Payroll Service Solutions at 215-624-0922 or 866-PAY-EASY.
Hey, you.
Who, me?
Yes, you. You like pro sports?
Yeah,
You like college sports?
of course.
You like high school sports?
I guess.
Maybe you just don't know much about them.
Hey, voice in the sky.
Huh?
Where can I go to learn more about Philadelphia area high school athletics?
Just watch Varsity Voice every Wednesday on Facebook Live at 7 p.m.
Welcome back here on In the Goal. Kapp, what are some of your final thoughts?
Final thoughts.
Yeah?
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to the next week or two, the big games coming up, and getting an opportunity to speak about those games, and then we move right into the district playoffs in about, I guess, 2 weeks, something like that. And then it gets really exciting at that point. And then, of course, there's the state playoffs that come after that, and any team that filters through all that, it couldn't be more fun.
Joe, what about you? What are some of your final thoughts for tonight?
Basically the same thing. I mean, the district tournament is exciting. We'll have a lot of teams in there in all classifications. One team that we didn't mention tonight was Villa Joseph Marie.
Villa Joe Marie, always good.
From, they're right across the lawn from Council Rock South. It must be a soccer hotbed down there.
They're always good. They're always well coached.
And, they're 13-0-1, and, they lost a lot of talent last year, and they're right there.
Is that Finney Frock? Is he still a coach?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, Rich Finney-Frock.
Excellent coach.
Yes, he is. And so, the weather's starting to get crisp, and, it's turning into soccer weather, and,
Finally.
it'll be, the exciting part of the season's coming up.
Yeah, well, let's hope so. Well, thank you for joining me, gentlemen, and thank you to all of our viewers for tuning in tonight. We've had a pleasure here talking some high school soccer from around the state of Pennsylvania. I would just like a couple suggestions. Make sure you check out our other shows. We have Varsity Voice every Wednesday, hosted by the great Ari Bluestein. And then we also have In the Trenches, some of my good friends on that program, Monday nights. They do a great job. Both shows are fantastic. You can also subscribe to us for our podcast on iTunes. We know we're all over the place, and you can check out any information about high school soccer or football, all other sports on the SFBN.com. It's a great place to check out information. And have a great night. But for Joe Fite, Jack Kapp, I'm Stephen Schreiber. Stay tuned next week. We're going to have a great show here on In the Goal.